Welcome to Math with Mr. P. Today we are going to be doing Chapter 2, Lesson 8, and this is for 6th grade math. Today we are going to be solving percent problems by using number lines to find the whole and using percent proportion. We have vocab today, starting with proportion. Proportion is an equation that shows that two ratios are equivalent. In the percent proportion, one ratio compares a part to the whole. The other ratio is the equivalent percent written as a fraction with a denominator of 100. We will come back and revisit this and turn this into easier English. So, there is a difference between a fraction and a ratio. A fraction. This means I have 2 out of 5. As a ratio, this means 2 for every 5. For example, 2 out of 5, I could have 2 parts of a collection and the entire collection is 5. With a ratio, what this is saying is that for every 2 something, there is 5 something else. So the total is actually going to be out of 7. A ratio is different than a fraction. So let's say for every 2 girls in the class, there are 5 boys. That means 2 out of every 7 are girls. This would be its fraction. As a ratio, it's 2 to 5, meaning that if there are 10 boys in the class, there should be at least 4 girls. The ratio continues that way. If there are 15 boys in the class, that means there are 6 girls in the class, and so on. This is what a ratio is. So today we're going to be talking ratios, fractions, and percentages. Now, 2 out of 5, say this was a quiz and there were 5 questions on the quiz and you got 2 correct, we would need to change this to have a denominator of 100 to find out the percent. We all know that 5 times 20 will be 100, and we'd have to do the same to our numerator, which means you got 40 out of 100 or 40%, which is not good, but for the example, this 2/5 is 40%. Going back to our book, again, 2 is the part, 5 is the whole in the fraction. What do you call the part? It's 2. The whole is 5. If it'll let me draw it. For a ratio, this is 2 to 5. Or 2 with a colon, 5. That means for every 2 something, there is 5 something else. Say for every 2 rainy days in the week, there are 5 sunny days. This would be a ratio. And then as a percent, as we talked about earlier, this would be 40. And then 40% of 5 is 2. 2 would equal 40%. So it's very important that we understand the difference between a fraction, a ratio, and a percentage. Again, a fraction is showing you what you have out of a whole. So 2/5, meaning you have 2 parts out of 5. A ratio compares 2 different values. So for every 2 something, there's 5 something else. Again, for if there's 2 girls in the class, for every 5 boys in class, a 2 to 5, there means that if there's 10 boys in class, 4 would be girls, and then so on. And the percent is always out of 100 to show what percentage it is, whether it's a quiz or so on and so forth. Percents are always out of 100. Kara is on her school basketball team. She has completed 9 out of 12 free throw shots successfully. Write the ratio as a percent and as a fraction in simplest form. So, as a fraction, this is easy. So this is not a ratio. She made 9 out of 12. Now, they want us to do this in simplest form, and I know I can divide both of these by 3. This will make this 3/4. 9 divided by 3 meaning 3. 12 divided by 3 being 4. And then on the flip side here, I'm going to go ahead and multiply these by 25 each because I know that 4 times 25 will get me 100. 3 times 25 will give me 75, which means my answers should be as follows. Fraction in simplest form is 3/4, and the percentage is 75%. And those would be my answers for this question. And that 3 is bothering me. Better. So as a percent and as a fraction in the simplest form. Percent right here, fraction there, and we're good. Use number lines to find the whole. If you know the part and the percent, you can find the whole or the total. You have used bar diagrams to solve percent problems. Double number lines are another way to illustrate percents. 10%, 10 is 25% of what number? So they're going to start getting into these weird questions. And if we use number lines, 10 plus 10 plus 10, this is super confusing and I don't like this. I'm going to tell you guys right now. But we still have to show you this way of doing things with the number line. 25%. To model 25%, divide the number line into 4 parts. They don't explain that to you and why it's 4 parts, which I think should be shown. Again, 25% we know is 1/4. So basically, 10 being a fourth of something would be 10 times 4 to find out what 10 is 25% of, which would be 40. But in number lines, they want you to do this. They want you to jump 1, 2, 3, 4, and know that it is 40 that you are jumping to, that 10 is 1/4 or 25% of 40. Again, I am not a fan of this, but if this works for you, more power to you. But again, this is up to you if this is what works for you. So let's try this one. Country music makes up 75% of Landon's music library. If he has downloaded 90 country music songs, how many songs does Landon have in his library? Use the double number lines to model 75% and 90. So, again, 75% is modeled right here, up to that point. Now, they're telling us that 90 is 75%. See, and this is what I don't understand. They already, I don't think your guys' brains, my brain doesn't even work like this. How do we know to jump by 3? How do we know that 90 divided by 3 is 30? Why are we doing that? Other than knowing that 75% is 3/4. And we divide it into 4 equal pieces. This is the part that they keep skipping, and this is why I'm having such a hard time with this number line thing, because we really don't need the number line if we know that 75% is 3/4. And if we know 90 makes up 3 of those fourths, then we divide 90 by 3 to find out that each fourth is 30, and then multiply 30 by 4 to get 120, which was our answer down here. The number line stuff is a hot mess, and I don't like it. I don't like it. Sorry, I'm getting on my soapbox here in this video. I'm not a fan of the number line stuff. The number is 120 at the 100% mark, so Landon has 120 songs in his music library. Again, let's just take the information. I can show you a different way, because I don't like this number line stuff. Landon has 75% of his music library is country music. Country music. So let's start there. 75% of his library. Let's take his library. Here's his music library. 1, 2, 3. 75% is the same thing as saying 3/4. 3/4. 3/4 of his music library is 90 songs, according to this question. The other part that we don't know is all the other kind of music. How many songs are not country? How many songs are this pink part of his music library? We know that 90 is 75% of his music library. We know that 75 is 3/4. We should know this. 75 cents is 3/4, 3/4. 90 divided by 3. This is where our 3 comes in. These are 3 equal parts. If I divide if I divide 90 by 3, this will be 30, this will be 30, and this will be 30. 3 30s will make 90. This other 30 is our last missing piece, so there are 120 songs in his library total. So, this is how I would solve that problem. So, without the number lines, because I don't like the number lines, 30 is 50% of what number? This should be an easy one. 50% is half. So, if half of something is 30, just double it, multiply 30 by 2, that'll be 60. That's a easy one. Now, this one's not as easy. 60 is 20% of what number? Now, it's very important that we have these shortcuts, and if we don't, we simplify. 20% is 20 out of 100. We can easily chop off the zeros and make this 210. 2/10. Because if I divided both of these by 10, I'm going to divide both of these by 2 now and get 1/5. This is important that we simplify our percentage down. 20% is 1/5. So if I were to take this whole and divide it into 5 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of these is made up of 20, according to this. 60% is 20% of what number? So let's try this again. This is 60. This 1/5 is 60. This will also be 60, this will also be 60, this will also be 60, and this will also be 60. This is my whole. If I were to multiply 60 by 5, I'm going to have what my total number is. 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 6 is 30. My total is 300. So 60 is 20% of 300. And last but not least, C. Peyton spent 60% of her money to buy a new television. If the television cost $300, how much money did she have? So, we're going to start off with 60 over 100. And we're going to simplify this down. Again, I can chop off the zeros, making this 6/10. And I'm going to divide by 2 since both are even. This will be 3/5. 3/5 is 60%. Now, I'm going to draw my rectangle again and divide into 1, 2, 3, 4. This will make 5 equal. They don't look equal, but you get my drift. 1, 2, and 3. She has 3/5. 3 out of this 5 was $300. Divide 300 by the equal pieces that are here, which are 3. 300 divided by 3 would mean $100 for each part. That would mean that these two spots are also $100 each, which means the missing part here is 200. Add these together, she had $500 total. Is what she had. She spent 60% of her total money, which is $300, on a new TV. So, going back to the question, if the television cost $300, how much money did she have? She had $500. Now, if the question went further and said how much money does she now have, if she had $500, she spent $300 of it, she only has $200 left. The diagram uses percent proportion to show that 75% of 32 is 24. So 24, 32. Doesn't explain how we got here, but I can try. So, yeah, I don't like this at all. But we will... let me go ahead and go on a side tangent with this one. 24 out of 32. So our fraction is 24 out of 32. This is going to be known as percent proportion. I'm going to simplify this because I want my denominator to be out of 100, and I can't turn 32 into 100 right now. I'm going to divide both of these by 2 because I know they're both even and see if it gives us something to work with. This will be 12. 32 will be 16. I don't believe I can turn 16 into 100. Give me 1 second. If I divide by 4, I can divide this by 4. This will give me 4 as my denominator and 3. 3/4. I can easily change this into a percentage by multiplying by 25. Had a brain fart. 3 times 25 will be 75. 4 times 25 will be 100. Therefore, 24 out of 32 is 75%. 75 out of 100. They're equivalent. So 24 is 75% of 32. Moving on. Sorry. Side tangent. 15 is 30% of what number? 15 is 30% of what number? They write this proportion, and this is basic algebra here. There's a few ways to solve this. 15 is 30% of what number? So they have already set this up. 15 equals 30. Working backwards, 15 times 2 would get you 30. What times 2 would equal 150? There is also an algebraic way to do this, and this is a little advanced, but I'm going to show you here. So 15 is what percent? 30. They said 30%. 30% of what number? This would equal 30 out of 100 because it's 30%. Instead of me having a question mark there, I'm going to put in an x. And now I'm going to cross multiply. That means multiplying the numerator and denominator of the opposites. 30 times x would be 30x equals 15 times 100, which is 150. Now, bear with me. In order to solve for x, I need x to be by itself. I'm going to undo this, and I'm going to divide by 30 on this side, and I'm going to divide by 30 on this side. X will now equal whatever 150 divided by 30 is. 150 divided by 30. 30 will go into 150. Let's say, guess and check. 90, let's say 4 times. That'll be 0. That'll be 120. It's actually going to be 5 times. So it'll be 150. I did something wrong, didn't I? X wouldn't equal 5. 15 times 100. Oh, it's not 150. It's 1500. I made a mistake there. That means the extra 0 would come up and it would be 50. So yes, there was my mistake. I knew I made a mistake somewhere. So x equals 50, and that's exactly what we got here. I know algebra was a lot and probably confusing, but yeah, this would probably be the easier way. As it's pointed out here, 15 to 30, we'd multiply by 2 or divide 30 by 2 to get to 15, and 100 divided by 2 would be 50. So let's try this way. This is a little confusing with algebra. 225 is 75% of what number? So we already know it's 75%, and it's 225. If it'll let me write, is 75% of what number? Now, 225. To get to 75, something needs to happen. So I'm going to guess and check here. I'm going to guess and check because I know that 75 is 3/5, or 3/4, I should say, of 100. So to get to 225, let's say 6. Let's just say 6. I'm going to see what I get. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 7 would be 42. Plus the 3 would be 45. Way over. Okay, way over. That's why we guess and check. So I'm going to go ahead and guess something way smaller. I'm going to go ahead and guess 3. 3 times 5 would be 15. Carry the 1. That 3 did not get erased from last time. 3 times 7 would be 21. Plus 1 would be 22. Hey, look, I guess better. So this would need to be multiplied by 3 to get to that. What times 3 equals 100? So this is where it gets tricky. It's going to be 33.3. So again, 225 is 75% of 100. When we multiply or divide this by 3, I should say, it gets down to here. This divided by 3. Oh, no. See, and I made another mistake. Ignore what I'm saying. Ignore what I'm saying. Let me start backwards. I know where I made a mistake. To get to 225 to 75, I had to divide by 3. What divided by 3 will get me to 100? That would be 300. If it will let me write. 300. You gotta love technology sometimes. It won't let me write. Okay. So 225. All right, I'm over writing on one note because it's not working for me. 225. Oh my goodness, and I'm having a day today, so sorry for all of this. 225 is 75% of what number? Again, we divided this by 3 to get to 75 because we guessed and checked and we found out that this, and this is where I made my mistake, was with multiplying. I ended up trying to multiply by 3 instead of dividing by 3. So what number divided by 3 should be 100? Or better yet, since I multiplied this by 3 to get to here, I'm going to multiply 100 by 3 to get to here, which would be 300. So 225 is 75% of 300. And I apologize for all the confusion that I've had today with not carrying over the 0 and with this mistake. Let's do a few examples and ignore number lines and call this a day because clearly I need a nap. D, 75 is 15% of what number? Let's do this. Remember, you're going to write 75 over your question mark equals 15%. And we're going to figure out what I needed to do from 75 to get to 15. Now, I'm going to go ahead and guess and check and say that I'm multiplying this by 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 5 times 1 is 1 plus 2. I really got lucky on that one. So, let me not have the same brain fart. From 15 to 75, I had to multiply it by 5. I need to multiply my 100 by 5 to get to this number. Therefore, the number should be 500. 75 is 15% of 500. And that's my answer for the first question. 9 is 36% of what number? I'm going to set it up the same way. 9 is 36% of what number? Now, what do I need to do from 9 to get to 36? Now, I know my 9s, so I'm multiplying by 4. What number multiplied by 4 will get me to 100? Or better yet, 100 divided by 4 will get me to this number, which should be 25. So 9 is 36% of 25. Deep breath, and we continue on with our next example. Hopefully we're starting to get a hang of this. 7 is 70% of what number? So we plug in 7 and 70. This one's an easy one. To get from 7 to 70, I'm multiplying by 10. What multiplied by 10 will give me 100, or better yet, 100 divided by 10 will get me what number? That should be 10. 7 is 70% of 10. And 7 is 35% of what number? So we keep our 7 the same way, and it'll be 35% of a certain number. Sorry for all the pauses. I am dog sitting and they needed to be let out. So 7 to get to 35 would be multiplying this by 5. What times 5 would get me 100, or better yet, 100 divided by 5 would give me this number. That would be 20. So 7 is 35% of 20. So let's do one example, and we're going to call this one a video. Before 1982, pennies were 95% zinc and 5% copper. If 100 pennies minted in 1980 have an approximate mass of 15 grams of copper, what is the total mass of 100 pennies? The percent is 5 and the part is 15. You need to find the whole. So let's decipher this question before we get into this. So again, pennies were 95% zinc and 5% copper. If pennies that were minted in 1980 have an approximate mass of 15 grams of copper, hence why I highlighted it in green, because that makes 5% of it. So 15 grams equals 5% of these pennies. What is the total mass for the 100 pennies? The total mass. So we have 15 is 5% of what number? And we do this again. 15 is 5% of what number? In order to get from 15 to 5, I need to divide by 3. The flip can also be said. To get to 5 to 15, I need to multiply by 3, which is what we're going to do here. Multiply by 3. So this is exactly the example we had earlier. My answer will be 300. 15 is 5% of 300, and that is my answer. And since this was a word problem, we need a word answer. The total mass of 100 pennies is 300 grams. Hopefully I didn't confuse you too much. I know this was a lot. There was a lot to juggle in this video and a lot of mess ups by me. I apologize once again. Again, any questions, comments, concerns, email or leave a comment down in the comment section. As always, I'm Mr. P. This is being recorded during fall break. It's clear that I need a nap. You probably need one after this video too. So I will catch you on the next one.